Hi, it's Larry McDonald with the Bear Traps Report. We've been doing some special announcements around our new product. We have a Discord room. And what that means for you is if you're on the road, coming out of meetings, coming off a plane, you have risk on in the markets. We've got a team here in the Discord room. You hop in, analyze the risk, analyze your positions with advice, real time during the day. We basically host a live conversation with hedge funds, mutual funds, and pension funds. It's kind of like a live ideas dinner where we're kind of aggregating information. We're crowdsourcing information during the day. And it's hosted by Craig Shapiro. Craig spent years at Point 72 Osprey hedge fund. He's been on the buy side. And we're looking at sell side research. We're looking at stock recommendations from the different banks. We're looking at things that are moving during the day, sectors that are moving, transitions, up and coming sectors that are kind of picking up momentum. We're looking for like the new beginning of a new bull market in certain parts of the market. I want to bring Craig in. Craig, you've been running the platform for the last week or two. Just bring us up to speed in terms of where are you adding value for the average user of the Discord room, and tell people how they can get involved.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you summarized it great. What we're trying to do is we're trying to aggregate, the most important discussions that the street is having on a daily basis, synthesize all that information, and then disseminate it back out in a highly democratized fashion to investors through the Discord channel. And so what I'm doing is running the channel and communicating with our subscribers and with folks throughout the day with this pertinent information that we're seeing. And so, the market has obviously been risk on for the last several weeks post the Trump election result and the Republican sweep, and the U.S. markets have been very robust through Thanksgiving and kind of entering into December with a lot of talk about a year-end rally. And so we've been talking about positioning in the markets being very extended, very long, in a variety of different metrics that we're showing in the channel, through options positioning on a daily basis and through the end of the year. There's been a ton of talk about tariffs and what Trump is going to do. We've been talking about Mexico. We've been talking about China. We've been talking about Brazil, some of the issues that we've been seeing there. And then, more recently, even today with some of this discussion in Korea. There's been martial law declared, and so clients have been chiming in with
So,
information about what's going on there, and so we've been communicating all that
so, Craig,
back and forth.
so how does it work? So let's just say you're in a meeting for 2 hours, hour and a half. You come out, look at your phone, go to the Discord app, and you basically now have that lens on a buy side conversation, you hosting a conversation with institutional investors around the world in, I think, 14 plus countries. And then you're kind of talking about the market moving impacts during the day, like what's most important. And then you're kind of relaying that information to a broader audience across the Discord platform. Is that how it works?
That's exactly how it works. And so it's a running dialogue that I'm communicating in, and the team here at the Bear Traps Report is putting in that information throughout the day, and it's grabbing information from a variety of contexts, to your point, from around the world. And so, yeah, if you miss a 3-hour chunk of the day, you could go back into the channel and see what's gone on in the world during that 3-hour period. The other thing that you can do is you can come into me directly and message me and say, "Hey, Craig, I've been out. Anything I need to know, anything that I've missed, anything that's really been moving here." I mean, today, Fed member Daly is speaking as we speak. This morning we had the JOLTS report, which was the payroll announcement for the month of October. Came out at 10 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow, Powell speaks at 12:40. So I'll have a live kind of commentary about what he's saying. So if you're not in front of your screen during that period of time and you need that information, it'll be there for you in the Discord channel. And if later in the day you want to, talk to me about what was said and my thoughts about it, then you come into me directly with message, and we have communications. We have communications that way. So there's real-time events throughout the trading day, earnings announcements, pre-market we talk about, or aftermarket we talk about. And then macro events in the macro calendar, throughout the day. And then sometimes random things come up, like I was mentioning before, this Korea thing. So, we got our eyes on the markets, myself, you, and the rest of the members of the team. And so it's rare that there are things going on in the world that we're not discussing. And so you should assume that the contents of the Discord channel are the most important news items that are happening in the day. May not always lead to a money-making decision for you, but it at least keeps you well informed of what's going on. And there'll be things in there that you might not find useful, but there'll be a nugget every day or every other day that'll be directly pertinent to your exact investment process. And your ability to communicate with me and the team regularly, we think is a very value-added part of the service.
Yes. And so, Craig, the one thing I've seen from the conversation with the buy side, with the hedge funds, mutual funds, and pension funds, and then taking that conversation out to the financial advisors is a growing interest in the tax loss basket, right? So we have the Nikes of the world, the Estee Lauders. We're seeing a tremendous amount of interest this year because in years where the S&P is up a lot, the intensity of that tax loss selling is pretty spectacular. And on the same other side of the coin is like where stocks, like whether it be UAL or Walmart, when you have stocks that are up a lot, there's kind of an interest there to sell those equities in January and pay the tax in 2026. And so walk us through kind of like the interest in terms of, you can see clients are building tax loss baskets. Look at the steel names. Steel's the sector that's beaten down this year, Cleveland Cliffs. But clients are looking at this as, okay, tax loss victims. You get intense selling, and especially the last couple of weeks of the year, last couple of weeks of November, you get this intense tax loss selling, and then you have the potential for tariff relief for a sector. This is what we're hearing from the clients. Tariff relief for a sector in 2025 that would really benefit the steel names. And so walk us through what clients are saying around tax loss.
And particularly in a year, we know that what the tax regime is going to look like in 2025 versus 2024 with Trump and the administration coming in. We don't have the risk that some were worried about if a Harris administration came in, that there was a possibility of higher taxes for next year, which might have complicated the decision about when you decide to crystallize gains or losses. And so, certainly what we're seeing is heavy gains in the stock market this year. Many folks looking to monetize that in January. But if they have had to monetize some gains, offset those with losses. So the cannabis sector has been an area that's been kind of left for dead. You mentioned the steel sector that had struggled earlier this year. That both of those sectors we think could actually be interesting and should be interesting long candidates into next year, supported by, at least for steel, supported by domestic tariffs on steel production. And then for cannabis, I think there's an expectation that Trump is an anti-cannabis candidate. We think that the opposite is true. He's shown some support for a variety of platforms and programs for cannabis. So those are two areas where we think. And to your point on some of the bombed out, names like an Estee Lauder or Nike or some of these local retail companies that have struggled this year. Again, we're looking for high quality. People are looking for high quality names with good management teams that have been bombed out, where investors have decided to crystallize those losses in 2024, and with the idea that they'll look to buy them back 30 days later, starting in 2025. So we think there's opportunity now and clients are looking for those types of baskets now, to get set up for next year.
And so once again, this is a conversation in our Discord room with hedge funds, mutual funds, pension funds, and Craig Shapiro and myself. One thing we're noticing the last 5 days is the underperformance of the European banks versus the US banks. It's one of the most spectacular underperformances we've seen since the 2011-12 Greece debacle. The Brexit in 2016, Greece 2011-12. And so now we're starting to see the last 24 hours, 48 hours, a little bit of contagion over to the US financials. We're not sure if it's specifically from the European banks, because the insurers are awfully weak today. But we are seeing for the first time, a sector that's been leading the market in really starting to underperform in the financials. And a lot of times you go back historically, when you have large banks like SocGen or BNP, which are major, there's major counterparty risk across the world from the big financial institutions. When you have that kind of spectacular underperformance from European banks, at some point, there's a contagion over to the U.S., especially when companies like J.P. Morgan are trading at 2.2 times book value, and the French banks are trading at 0.5 times book. I mean, it's the widest divergence that we've ever really seen, pretty much next to the Brexit debacle.
Yeah, and what you have it on a two-pronged front here, because you have the political risk that's developing in Europe, the France issues, possible no confidence vote can come as early as this week. So you may have another government failure in France. There's talk about Germany and some of the alternative parties gaining momentum, and a possibility of Germany leaving the EU next year. I mean, obviously there's low probability of that, but there's an increased talk. So you're seeing some of the banks struggle. But the other thing you're also seeing is this move in the dollar that's been supported by the Trump tariff expectations. As dollars become scarce in the Eurodollar market, and as Trump is threatening the use of more tariffs, banks are kind of at the centerfold here, right? They have tremendous dollar borrowing liabilities, and so their inability to access dollars in a strong dollar world is creating more pressure on some of these global banks. When you get some of this EM emerging risk, whether it's in Brazil, which has had issues with its budget, whether it's in Mexico, which has had issues because of the tariffs, whether it's in Korea, which has declared martial law today, you have more domestic U.S. banks and European banks that have their fingers in all of these markets. And so as money starts to flock back home and dollars become scarce, banks are at the crux of that. And so we're definitely monitoring some of these issues in European banks, and for the lookout onto U.S. domestic banks, the money center banks like Citibank and B of A, and will they be exposed to some of that contagion?
Well, join us in the Discord room. It's Tatiana at thebeartrapsreport.com. Tatiana at thebeartrapsreport.com. Join us. We'll set you up. Discord's it's in the App Store. There's all different types of channels, but it's really a lens on a buy-side conversation. We're looking at sell-side research. We're looking at, where is the street right? Where is the street wrong? What's going on? You're coming off the golf course. What's going on? How's your portfolio? Let's analyze your portfolio real time with veterans on the street. Coming out of a long meeting on the road, go to the Discord channel and really get that lens on a buy-side conversation. We're crowdsourcing information real time. Revolutionary new product. Join us. Craig Shapiro, Larry McDonald. Thanks for checking in.